Michelle was saying, wait a second, please.
Oh, I'll just turn this off first.
This is the November 12th meeting of the Open Space and Ecology Committee. Does everybody want to move to adopt the agenda as written? Or do we have any amendments?
I think it's fine.
Okay.
Is there any way that we can see the documents that we're looking at, that we're going to be working with on the screens? How does this work exactly?
You're seeing whatever she's looking at.
Okay. I was just wondering if we could look at the agenda again. I mean, I did look at it, but just take
So first thing on the agenda, Betty and Ben are presenting. So
Actually, I
we're
think the
looking
first
at-
thing's approval of the minutes. I mean,
Oh, is
if we're
it?
not amending,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Barbara, then may I suggest that we amend the agenda so that our guests can do their presentation and would do the minutes after they're finished, so that they can go home?
Well, I thought maybe the minutes would be a good way to make productive stalling time for Kima to get in the door. But by the time we discuss this, he'll be here. So I'm going to go with your suggestion, Glenn.
Thank you.
And just I want to give an update from the BBK too. Sorry.
Okay.
Update from the BBK also.
So shall we do energy plan first, minutes second, and oral communications, including the BB Cab update third?
Sure.
And then the rest of the agenda as written?
Sounds fine.
Okay. Can I have a motion?
I so move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. That means we are delightfully and happily ready for our energy plan consultants. Actually, Karen, would you do us the favor of introducing our guests for the audience?
All right, we have Betty Cito with DNGBL, I always get the acronym back.
DNVGL.
DNVGL, and Ben, and I forgot your last name.
Butterworth.
Butterworth. And they work with, I believe, most, if not all of the agencies in San Mateo County to develop their either climate action plan, or energy action plan, or environmental action plan. So they're experienced and they're here to help us, and we're excited to do the kickoff.
Thanks very much, Karen. We're very excited to be here today to kick off the action plan project with the Open Space and Ecology Committee here in Brisbane. As Karen mentioned, Ben and I work with with all the cities across San Mateo County on climate action plans and energy action plans. And today we are here to talk about, at one point it was called an energy action plan, but you do have funding to expand it to include other sectors such as water and solid waste. So broadly, I will refer to the project as the environmental action plan, but of course the committee can choose to more narrowly scope the project if you like. So I would propose that I run through the presentation and then we can discuss sort of how the committee would like to move forward. Okay, so the agenda is just to give you a little bit of background, introduce CCAG as an agency and DMVJL as a contractor, and then talk about the components that we would envision for the environmental action plan, and then, get your input and feedback. And we do also have a handout that we can walk through with you for example types of programs and policies that we can help analyze as part of the environmental action plan.
Is this on the screen at home? Because it's being televised? Okay.
Okay.
I don't know how we're not able to we just have a camera on you guys and one here, so.
Okay.
If we want for the slides to be shown at home, they won't see any of us, if that's, I don't know, what do you prefer?
And you can switch to that.
Is there a way to show the slides separately and maybe append them to the meeting video or something like that so that people can see them?
We can post them later.
Yeah, maybe that would work.
I would propose, since they get to see all of us all the time, maybe we give up our personages on the screen and allow people to see what we're looking at, because it looks pretty good. So
I agree with Kima on that.
All right.
Fine by me.
We'll give
All
Kelly a
one or
moment.
two watchers we might have. But since it is the film is kind of basically a record of the meeting, it'd be nice to have them see the slides and,
yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
and be able to review the slides later in context with what you're saying.
Okay, should I proceed or should we wait for Natalie to?
Yeah, just go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So just to give the committee some background, okay, thanks. Some background on the City and County Associated Governments of San Mateo, that's CCAG. They're the Council of Governments for San Mateo County. They have an initiative called the Regionally Integrated Climate Action Planning Suite, RICAPS, and it's based on a series of legislation that was enacted at the state level. And I'll just very quickly go through. Many of you probably know about the AB 32 Global Warming Solutions Act, which sets a greenhouse gas reduction target for the state of California to achieve 1990 levels by 2020. And subsequent to that, the state adopted amendments to the California Environmental Quality Act to include greenhouse gas emissions as a key factor for evaluation as part of an environmental impact report. So in 2011, in support of cities across the county, CCAG initiated their technical support for cities to help them with sustainability planning and help them with climate action planning. And in the past year, let's see, 2013 to 2014 funding cycle, they're trying to have the remaining cities complete climate action plans and environmental action plans. So I think 15 of the 20 jurisdictions have climate action plans, and the remaining are Brisbane, Daly City, Half Moon Bay, San Bruno has a draft. So I think I'm missing one, but so CCAG is very dedicated to have everybody in the county complete in sustainability plans. So what exactly is the Regionally Integrated Climate Action Planning Suite? CCAG has developed a number of tools for technical analysis that Ben and I, that DMVGL created, and that Ben and I provide technical assistance in using. And we also have templates for how do you write a climate or environmental action plan that's consistent with state guidance. And CCAG also supports monthly working groups for city staff that Karen and Natalie attend, every month to coordinate the climate action planning and sustainability planning efforts across the county. And then in addition to that, CCAG provides technical assistance to individual cities of approximately $10,000. So the idea is that city staff and sort of citizens, play a very active role in developing environmental action plans, but that we support and we facilitate the process. And to help you to review things, we will do calculations for you and bring them back to the committee and say, this is what the analysis says. How would you like to proceed? Which policies and programs would you like to recommend? So the key components of an environmental action plan, this is based on what a climate action plan would typically include. It typically includes a greenhouse gas emissions baseline, and I'll walk through that in the presentation today. It usually includes a greenhouse gas reduction target that's consistent with the state legislation, AB 32, and then the programs and policies and actions that the city is committing to in order to achieve that greenhouse gas target. And then steps 4 and 5 are just, implementation. Who will be responsible? How will you track progress? And the state does require qualified climate action plans to be adopted by City Council following an environmental review. But since the environmental action plan won't be a full climate action plan, there are some different options that you have for taking it to council. You can take it as an information item. You can take it as a resolution. When we get to that point, we can talk about how would you like to involve the council. So, all right, what does the City of Brisbane's greenhouse gas inventory look like? Well, no surprise, the majority of your emissions are related to state highways and principally 101. Given the size of the community and given the relative size of 101, that's a huge chunk. But the Environmental Action Plan will be primarily focused on these wedges of the pie, the residential, the commercial industrial, the solid waste, both the landfill emissions, so the direct emissions from the landfill, as well as like trash that residents and businesses generate.
Can I ask a question here?
Yes, absolutely.
Is this on a per capita basis?
No, this is total footprint.
Total footprint?
Yeah,
Bears no relation to how many, what our population is, correct?
that's right.
Okay.
So, Glenn.
Another question, that the goal is 15% reduction by 2020. Is our 15% supposed to come out of the non-transportation categories?
I would recommend that we focus on 15% of the non-transportation, so reducing that. So not the whole, right?
Okay.
I think this is like 15% just non-transportation. So, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So in other words, we're only going to do 15% of 41%.
Right. Yeah, this, what is 16 plus 4 plus 1 plus 3?
Is there any provision made for the state highway portion of it? I mean, I know on one hand, it's kind of like running through our community, and we also have, residents such as myself that use it multiple times a day. At the same time, would it be within the scope of the climate action plan to look at potentials to mitigate some of that traffic, potentially like trains or whatever, high-speed rail will also go through our community? So is that transportation part off the table, or are we just kind of taking that 41% of the non-transportation and taking that as this is what we could really have more control over, or what's the scope of the plan?
Right. The scope of the Environmental Action Plan will be everything but transportation.
Okay.
So I would say the transportation piece is basically off the table. Karen, do you want to provide some clarification?
And also the transportation / land use element is dealt with in the general plan and the plan.
So when we're taking transportation off the table, are we taking just the state highway, or are we also taking local transportation off the table?
I believe we're taking both off the table.
Okay.
May I ask why?
Yeah, because the general plan will address those parts, and the planning commission will oversee those plan elements.
Do you have an update on the GHG now, 10 years later?
I do. Well, I have. So the state recommends that you conduct a greenhouse gas inventory every 5 years. So we recently completed your 2010 emissions inventory. So we did see a reduction of 6% since 2005. And I apologize that the pie chart is not oriented the same way. The protocols for conducting a greenhouse gas inventory have what was released in 2011, And so there are some additional sources that we've included in the 2010 update, and these include the emissions associated with Caltrain, the freight train traffic and wastewater emissions, as well as water emissions. But overall, you're still seeing a 6% decrease.
And yet, the portion of transportation from state highways dropped from 59% to 55%? How did that happen?
Right. So here is a bar chart that shows you, thank you, Ben, for putting these together. That shows you exactly what changed from year to year. So the blue bars are the baseline inventory, and then the green bars are the update in 2010. So I think with the, the economic downturn, we have seen transportation emissions go down across the region. And then it looks like also commercial and industrial went down as well. And then everything else stayed about the same. There was a slight increase in landfills. And then, as I mentioned, we had a couple of additional categories, which we've grouped in other. So that gives you sort of a...
What percentage was the other? Once again, sorry,
4%.
4%. I have to question the methodology or I don't understand how transportation could drop 4% in those 5 years, because the traffic is way heavier than it was in 2005, and it was way heavier. It just keeps getting heavier and heavier. So I'm wondering if there's some methodology difference, or if something got recategorized into other. It does not make logical sense.
Could that have been related to the economic downturn? Because there really was a lot less traffic on 101 when they...
I was going to say that the transportation emissions went down all over the country during the recession, and now it's started to pick back up again. So, we're talking about a 5-year period, so probably, beginning in 2010 or 2011, it started to get worse, but they fell all over the country, and that's pretty well documented everywhere. I have a question for Karen, though, getting back to this transportation business. So you said the Planning Commission was going to deal with transportation issues. Are they dealing with greenhouse emissions from transportation? Are they part of this climate action planning process in that sense, or I'm not really clear about that.
That's what differentiates an energy plan from a climate action plan, but I did make a note about they are amending the circulation element and trying and conforming to the Complete Streets Act, and I can ask the question that I know that the Complete Streets Citizen Advisory Committee is going to review the circulation element, and it's kind of on the same timeline as the housing element, that we're trying to have something to submit by the end of January, but it might be possible that you guys take a look at it too. I think everybody's on board to put as many alternate modes of transportation as possible in town and put that in the planning document, but to have you guys glance at it might be reasonable. I want to check in about that.
Okay.
And how much impact do things like timing of signal lights and metering lights and technology in terms of that, are those things that make a difference in this transportation? At what level? I can't help but tell you, I waited 2 minutes. I timed it. 2 minutes in the morning at the signal light in Brisbane to get out of town, even when there was no cross traffic. And so that's a lot of idle time for me and all the people behind me. And so I wonder how much we can impact that by having higher technology in terms of, metering and signal lights and that type of thing. And then I noticed that today was the day they started doing the metering lights on the freeway.
Right.
And it created gridlock in South San Francisco.
Let me write that down. Do you want to have me answer that afterwards? I have comments or...
So traffic signal synchronization is a strategy that we often consider as part of our climate action plans, and there is a methodology for You take the baseline speed, and then you take the estimated speed after traffic signal synchronization, and it is, because vehicles operate more efficiently at higher speeds at about like 55, and then so it kind of is a curve.
That's why I always speed.
Right. So there is a way to calculate it based on, we could, one could certainly do that estimate. And I've seen circulation elements that include the policy to synchronize traffic signals, but I have not seen the draft Brisbane circulation element.
Actually, my question to you was more about
Oh, sorry.
staying on track.
Oh, okay.
Talking about it afterwards, but
Right,
my specific
absolutely.
answers about this would be that I was involved when we coordinated Bayshore, and you could really only optimize it 26% of the time to get a green light all the way through Bayshore. And of course, when you do that, the side street traffic waits longer. But it's the same concept as the ramp metering, where you used to be able to just drive onto the on-ramp and now you have to stop, is that it's optimizing it for the large volume of traffic and inconveniencing those people that are getting on and off the through system. And it ends up, by traffic models and planning consultants will tell you, and if you want to see the ramp metering model for the northbound direction, it's only 500 pages, but I can forward it to you guys if you want.
Thanks, Karen.
They say that it reduces congestion overall because the most people are moving more efficiently, and those few people getting onto the system are waiting longer than they would have. So
Yep.
we hate it, the ramp metering, you don't like it when you're on that side street or that on-ramp, but it's been in the south part of the county from 92 down, and what they say is, there are places to complain, and if it doesn't work and it's blocking intersections, that's a problem, but people eventually just kind of succumb and get used to it, and it is for the greater good, I guess.
South City has a problem.
As a commuter who drives down south of 92 every day, I have to say that, I like the fact that the people in San Mateo have to wait and line up to get on 101 because I get to work faster. So, sorry for South San Francisco, but they're helping all the commuters go from San Francisco to point south.
Right, it saves a few minutes
Yeah.
on the corridor, and we had a bunch of meetings, the ramp metering technical advisory committee, so I could contact South City and ask them how, what their thoughts were after the first day.
And for what it's worth,
Okay.
the lights on Tunnel Avenue are perfectly timed. I can make it through without stopping once.
On Tunnel? There aren't any.
That was a joke.
You just have to dodge all the potholes and the
Yeah.
trucks and the...
Okay,
So-
so I think on that note,
Yeah, could I ask actually a question about the general methodology that's used in creating the inventory? Are you using the state highways, but really any of them, are you calculating or modeling, let's say the number of trips times the total miles and how fast the stuff is going? Or do you look at actual stuff from, for commercial industrial, you actually poll the individual businesses and add it up? How do we come to these numbers?
sure, I can walk through that. So for the transportation emissions, that does come from the state. They have the Highway Performance Monitoring System, HPMS. And so they do have estimated trip volumes or traffic volumes for communities all across California.
And I mean, that's actual data. It's not, so I mean, it's
It's-
based on their sensors or whatever, it gives some sort of an indication of the actual traffic, it's not hypothetical. They're actually measuring it, right?
Well, it's modeled, but then it's calibrated based on actual measurements.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the commercial, industrial, and the residential is based on the PG&E data. So
Okay.
that one is
Actual
metered-
use,
actual
right.
metered level data. And then, so solid waste from the landfill, I think the landfill has a landfill gas collection system, so that is actual. And then disposed waste, we get it from the waste hauler, the tons of waste that the community, throws away. So I think those are the main, water, the water we get from the water district, but we do need to apportion the water usage across communities, because I think that the water district data covers Brisbane and then another.
And just from my understanding, the water measurement is the energy used to operate the system, or where's the GHGs coming from water.
Water, yeah, water is both sort of upstream treatment of water and then downstream, so that's the wastewater.
Right.
So the
Treatment.
water is mostly the upstream, any treatment, so it's minor.
Okay,
because-
yeah, but I mean, it's based on the energy costs of operating the system. Okay, yeah.
I'm going to say a couple things. One, roundabouts. They're coming. Two, is there any other elements that will not be dealt with by OSEC that are going to planning or?
Not that I can specifically think of, so I guess it's all fair
It's
game.
all us except for transportation. Okay. And my third question is, could you just give us a brief summary on what is included under other?
Yes, so the other includes, some of these stationary sources. So stationary sources are any sources that have to report its greenhouse gas emissions to the local Bay Area Air Quality Management District. So the local air district does have, permits for greenhouse gas emissions. And then Caltrain, freight trains, water and wastewater.
So would the quarry be considered a stationary source? Yeah.
From, I know BAA QMD, they look at dry cleaners and gas stations.
At dry cleaners and what?
Gas stations.
Okay.
Those are stationary sources.
About the quarry, the quarry is in the Brisbane sphere of influence, but it's not within the city limits, so I don't know, for that reason, it may not be included.
So
It may be a county.
falls under the county, I
Yeah,
guess.
I would think.
that'd be right.
I know that we have 5 or 6 emergency generators that have permits with the Bay Area Air Quality Management District for pump stations and one here at City Hall, so those are probably under the other, it sounds like.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So, so we did do an initial review of the existing environmental initiatives underway. So, part of the environmental action plan is to, both celebrate the successes that you've had today and celebrate the existing initiatives, and also use the plan as a way to share information about existing programs with the community. Because a lot of times cities have these great programs, but people don't know about them. So this is a place where we can sort of summarize the sustainability initiatives and kind of use it as a PR document and education and outreach. So that's why we wanted to highlight some of the programs that we've seen to date. The commuter shuttle programs, the LED streetlight programs. I know Karen's been very active in, and then the community pool has a solar thermal heating system.
Not right now.
Is it not open right now?
It's under repair.
Oh, it's under repair.
I think we got it back going like the end of last week.
Okay.
Okay, and then obviously the Baylands is a big topic for the community, and we wanted to capture the sort of existing efforts around sustainability for the Baylands development project. So I don't know to what extent we want to pull from there, or we just want to just acknowledge that those efforts are ongoing and then focus on the existing parts of the city. So now I think we want to pass out the handout and maybe make a little headway into what might this environmental action plan look like. And the CCAG suite of tools
Thank you.
provides sort of a kind of a menu of sustainability measures for consideration. So I think it would be good to discuss, what are the things that the OSEC would be really excited to highlight or to tackle. I guess that's not on here, is it then? Okay. So here are some example measures that we have considered for other cities in the past, and these have been vetted with CCAG and have been vetted by the Bay Area Air Quality Management District. So some of the measures are things like a residential green building ordinance. We also have a commercial green building ordinance. I think you can ignore the gray highlighted, that's kind of vestige from something before. And I think something we want to think about when we look at the environmental action plan is, I guess it's ultimately a recommendation from OSEC. So if you want to encourage the city to consider a green building ordinance, consider adopting something above the existing energy codes, then that's something that we can put in the environmental action plan. And then there's, incentivizing solar. And then EC4 and EC5 are about working with PG&E on their existing programs, because they have many, many sort of rebate and incentive programs that give folks free audits and, sometimes free efficient equipment. Oh, and this reminds me, Natalie, I think you mentioned that a member of the committee was interested in energy audits as part of the environmental action plan.
Yeah.
So, so energy audits, so having people participate in energy audits would fall under EC4 and EC5, but, EC4 and 5, as written right now, are sort of, encouraging, it's like a voluntary approach to energy audits, and obviously these are the free audits provided by the utility, so there might be an opportunity for Brisbane to support a more aggressive energy audit program, and, yes.
Question, as you know, Brisbane is small, and we have a limited funding base. So one of the things I'm curious about, and this is the second incarnation of an energy strategy committee for the city of Brisbane, and I was on the first one. Mm-hmm. And aside from exhorting people to do things, it really helps if you can help to fund them or otherwise incentivize them. And I'm just curious, is the county thinking of establishing some kind of revolving fund? Because, in one way, it seems to me, it may make sense for the city of San Mateo to establish its own revolving fund, but Brisbane really does not, I think it's unlikely that we would have the means to do that. So is there a role for the county in this whole process? Since the county is kind of urging it on, is the county going to help?
So I have not heard of the county establishing a revolving fund, but I know that they have, through the Energy Watch program, they have resources to provide assistance. And yeah, it's definitely limited in many ways. So I don't know if that addresses your question or.
Well, I mean, C7
is this something you could
says-
maybe bring up? I mean, because, I think for a lot of these things, it makes sense to do it on a somewhat higher level than these really small cities, just in terms of staff time. That's another issue for Brisbane with, small city with limited budgets. There's staff time, there's, very limited scope for revolving funds and things like that. So it just seems to me that some of this, that there could be more facilitation from the county.
Mm-hmm. And I think we can certainly bring that back up to, with the county. We have a meeting on Tuesday next week, and we could, certainly put that ask. And also, because the county, through the Bay Area Regional Energy Network, BayREN, they are offering a more aggressive residential home upgrade program. Mm-hmm. So I don't know where they are with that program, and obviously that's still, if you want to upgrade all your windows for $15,000, they'll give you maybe like a 50% rebate. So there's still a substantial out-of-pocket cost. But 50% rebate's pretty good. And they have a sort of approved list of contractors, I think, as part of that program. So it does take down the transaction cost of finding your own contractor. And you can have, a little bit of confidence that the project will be done right and it will be done with efficient windows, for example. So and a lot of our recommendations in the past have been along the lines of how do we bring those programs to, Brisbane or to small communities. How do we get the PG&E programs to come and, maybe they should have a workshop, or maybe, I think that's certainly within their purview to come and do more outreach than they have done in the past.
Does your RICAPS tool include any kind of information on the efficacy of one initiative over another? So, if you were going to, just choosing one at random, if you were going to do energy efficiency in municipal buildings, does it have a way of saying what you get for that? Like, how much of that slice of pie it'll account for if you're trying to drive, a 20% reduction, like how much will that contribute to it or something?
Right. So in terms of process, what the RICAPS process usually does is work with cities with this list of measures, and usually we try to whittle it down. I think there are probably about 20-something measures here, and then we usually whittle it down to maybe 15 measures for further analysis, and then we would come back mostly to Karen with a data request saying, okay, we need how many square feet of homes do you have here in Brisbane? And that will help us to figure out, okay, if you would upgrade like 15% of them, how much energy, savings could you get? And we'll get the square footage of all municipal facilities. So if we do the energy efficiency in City Hall and other city facilities, how much would that get you? But, usually we don't look at we work with the, task force, or we work with the committees to figure out, where should we really focus our analytical assistance?
Right.
Because it's a little bit, it's bounded.
Sure. Yeah, but you do have ways of figuring it out, so, you can make a decision on which to go for based on a something more than a guess in terms of how effective it will be.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, right.
So do you ever do any kind of calculating? Well, we want to go for the low-hanging fruit, obviously, and everybody does.
Yep.
But every once in a while, there's more interesting or innovative things that might really help turn the tide. And a couple of years ago, a friend of mine bought one solar panel, and it has a direct plug-in, and it only provides, obviously, electricity to the household when it's sunny and it's daytime, because it has no battery backup or storage or anything like that. But he said it really cut their energy use off the grid with that type of thing, and I think he did the whole thing for like, I don't know, $1,200. He bought the panel from Canada and the converter set, and and they just laid it out on the deck and plug it in. And so that's something that I think would be really interesting, especially since we do have a lot of sunshine in Brisbane. Some people, it would be easy for them to do that. It'd be easy for us to do that at home. And I'm just wondering, do you ever look at those kinds of projects and maybe a group purchase of a bunch of solar panels, plug-and-play solar panels, and discounting and that type of thing? Are any cities doing anything like that? Because I know I participated in the energy audit, household energy audit, when they did it before. We have an older house, and, it's like, well, we heat up half of Brisbane if we ever turn the heater on, which we don't. But the energy audit guy was really not too interested in us, because once he took a look at us, he's like, yeah, and just gave us a few good ideas and walked away. That was it.
So we do cover solar through this measure EC3, incentivized solar installation, and it does, if you read the detailed description here, it does sort of encompass a wide number of things you can do around solar, and the last sentence is encourage bulk purchases, such as the Portola Valley bulk purchase. They had a bulk purchase program, and actually Foster City is having a bulk purchase program right now.
I think the council just approved our participation last week in the Sun Shares program.
Is that where we can purchase like one solar panel that plugs in, or
I don't
does
know.
that mean you have to like put a whole array on your roof? Because our roof can't handle a whole array.
Yeah, I'm not sure. What it's doing is they're putting together an RFP, and they're a nonprofit's helping them do that, and then they're going to get bids from contractors and have a contractor that people can sign up and get solar put in. So I'm not sure how much solar you have to commit to, but they're trying to get a bulk purchase price. And they are also work together with California First, which then you can finance it and pay it like with your property tax bill and pay it over time if you did want to do your whole roof. So I don't know, do you know if you can just get one panel or you have to?
I don't know. I think we'll be getting some more details during our countywide meeting on Tuesday, so we can, get more information and get that back to the OSEC.
Okay. So I'm just thinking there's a lot of places where, a panel, they could use a panel in the summer but not in the winter, or vice versa, or have a panel that moves around instead of, structure.
Right, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, just to walk you through a couple of other measures that are in here, and I just want to give you a taste for the sort of wide range of measures and types of programs and policies we might consider including in the environmental action plan. And then I would recommend, maybe next month, the OSEC get back together again and see, what things kind of rise to the top, and what measures would you like for DMVGL to look at, in more depth. Where would you like assistance in sort of putting these types of things into a plan?
And I think you, the committee, should decide whether that step ought to happen with the energy subcommittee or with the full committee. Because we're kind of in this gray area that everyone's interested, so do you want the subcommittee to do some of the detail work and report back, or do you all want to have discussion about it?
Let's talk about that later.
That's fine.
Okay, so the measures are, there are, 3 tables in here. There's the energy table, the solid waste table, and water. Oh, and there's a 4th table. That's sort of all sectors. But just to finish going through the green, which is energy, we do have the community energy measures, the EC measures, and then we also have municipal measures, which are the EM measures. And as Kima mentioned, the municipal green building, or energy efficiency in municipal buildings. But there's also, EM1 is energy efficient street lighting, which you're already doing. So another thing that we have set up the handout to do is there's a column here called existing initiative. So we could go through and, check off yes or no for the things that are happening already. And then maybe focus on the initiatives that aren't happening. Maybe we, if we are trying to sort of push change in the city, then maybe we should focus on recommendations for new programs.
Natalie and Karen, can you help us go through that? Because I'm not sure I'm aware of all the cities, or that we are aware of all the cities' programs in progress.
I think we know most of them.
No? Okay.
Yeah.
And, well, we can do it together because we want you to know what they are, too.
Yeah. I don't think I know what they're doing.
Well, you mentioned that we've been doing energy efficient street lighting, but I don't see anything. Is that because that initiative is completed and that's why it's not an existing initiative? Or?
In maybe 5 years. Does anyone remember when the LEDs went in and the lights were?
Been longer than 5 years.
Maybe 2006, or I was thinking 2008, somewhere in there.
I would say that it's probably was about 8 years.
Yeah, it might have been
About
2006.
8 years ago.
Yeah.
So and it really changed the lighting in our house.
Definitely, we got some feedback, definitely, about how
Yeah.
the lighting was different. The Acorn-style lights are not converted yet, and I've been working with PG&E, and they're trying to design a retrofit, or they're a consultant, and we just haven't got a lot of forward progress, but I think we have 94 streetlights that are not LED, and we're trying to get those done too, but otherwise, all of the city streetlights are LED.
So one of the areas of lighting, night lighting in particular, that I find offensive is how much we light the field when there's nobody there over at Mission Blue Center, and how incredibly bright it is. And I'm wondering how much, I feel like all the energy efficiency we got from all of our LED streetlights is blown out the door every time we turn on the field lights, especially when there's no one there. And that's quite often. And then some of the lighting in Crocker Industrial Park, private lighting there is just egregious in the way that, I mean, you can see the whole valley lit up from miles away, because it's just like, looks like a scene from Close Encounters of the Third Kind sometimes. And I don't know how we can, I've advocated for a very long time that we have some kind of ordinances and to change that, especially in Crocker Industrial Park, and make all the lighting down lighting, not only to preserve the night sky, but maybe to, it's got to be more energy efficient to point the light where you need it and not up all over the place in the sky, you know? And so I don't know what we can do to address that, but I just find it absurd.
So I think one of the most valuable things that we could do as far as climate action plan, because as we go through this list, we're going to find that Brisbane has actually already done a lot of these things. It seems to me that one of the things we really need to figure out how to do is community education, and it could include things like my neighbors who leave their porch light on all night, every night, drives me crazy, you know, and the light that you're talking about. But may I suggest that we sort of go through this list first, and then sort of talk about things that aren't there that maybe could be there.
Yeah. Okay, so we were,
You want to do that now? Is that your suggestion, Glenn?
Yeah.
okay, so we were going through the municipal measures, and, I see here we had this, where we wrote, yes, new town center, possible lead, that's, we should cross that out, because that's not for Brisbane, obviously.
Sorry, where are you?
So that's on page 2, under the existing initiatives column. Just, I don't want you all to be confused, so that was just left over from a different,
Where it says, yes, new town center possible lead, and the little, right here, on page 2,
at the
second box to the bottom.
I was getting all excited. I thought we were going to get a new town center. Shucks. And that was lead nonetheless.
Right. Okay, so EM2 was, so this is all municipal, what can the city do related to its own government operations? So this is the leading by example set of measures.
Could we maybe start on page 1?
Oh, okay.
Just go through
Sure.
it?
Absolutely. So on page 1, there's EC1 and EC2, which is the commercial and residential green building ordinance.
So Brisbane was actually one of the first cities in San Mateo County to adopt a green building ordinance. And Kima and I were on the subcommittee charged with revamping that ordinance, and we suspended our work more or less because the state standards superseded what we had. And I don't know if we're going to go back and try to exceed the state's, the new state standards again or not. But we could sort of, I don't know, check that one off almost.
Well, I actually have a question about that. Will the new codes, because the new Title 24 and all of that is way more stringent than the green building ordinance or even the green building ordinance improvements that we're considering. Will those new measures be factored in or into sort of, we're going to get some savings out of that when we look towards that overall AB 32 goal that we're trying to get, by 2020? So
Typically what we do is we give cities credit for state actions such as Title 24, sort of increasing in stringency. You do get credit for anytime a new building's built to that new code, that's going to be substantially less energy using than one before. And there are other things that Brisbane gets credit for, like the renewable portfolio standard. So the fact that PG&E's emissions factor is going down, then by default, the city's emissions factor is going down. But in terms of EC1 and EC2, we could write it in different ways in the environmental action plan, depending on what you would like to recommend. You could recommend that the city go for the Cal Green Tier 1 energy performance, or you could just merely say that Cal Green is much, Title 24 is much more stringent than it used to be, and we expect that that's sufficient for new construction.
One of the things that we ran into when we were working on the green building ordinance, on revising it, is that we were kind of told several times by our consultant that Brisbane could probably not get away with adopting a more stringent ordinance than our neighbors. And so I keep coming back to this county issue. It's, especially for a little city like Brisbane, it's really tough to leap ahead of standards if you're doing it by yourself. And so I really want to underline that some of this should probably be considered at higher levels.
Yep. So I seem to remember that there were many cities in San Mateo County that had a green building ordinance and actually a REACH code above Title 24, the 2008 standards. But most cities have since, you have to peg your REACH code according to the current code. And so most cities in San Mateo County are no longer trying to achieve, Cal Green Tier 1. Like they did on the last code cycle. So there are a lot of hurdles that you have to sort of jump through in order to try to do a REACH code. And I agree it might not make sense for Brisbane.
Well, what about on residential?
That's what we're talking about.
I think, I'm not sure if this is taking it in a different direction, but is the overall purpose of the climate action plan to come up with actionable measures that we can put together into a portfolio that's going to reduce our overall emissions? Is that sort of the goal of the plan?
I would say, you want to put together a set of programs that, well, maybe that's a broader discussion. Are there other goals besides greenhouse gas emissions? Obviously, local economy and vitality and, supporting open spaces and parks and livable communities are all really important. Local jobs to the extent that you can support that. But, usually a climate action plan is intended to achieve the greenhouse gas reduction targets as set out by AB 32.
Okay. So, in going through this list of items, basically, granted, we may take in other measures or other goals and work towards those, but in terms of the climate action plan or the energy plan, all of these different recommendations are things that could help contribute to that overall goal, right?
That's right. All of these reduce greenhouse gas emissions.
Okay.
Yeah.
So should we continue going through them, or do we want to, Glenn, what was your intention? You want to talk about each one individually, or?
Say which ones we've done.
Oh, right.
So 1 and 2, we've pretty much decided we're going with Cal Green, at least for the time being, that we're not going to, I think the Green Building Subcommittee kind of said that we're not going to do a REACH code just right at the moment,
Yeah.
right? So we can check off those 2 things.
Well, we have a residential green building ordinance in process.
We just suspended work on it because the state standards are so far ahead of everything that we
For
propose.
residential.
For residential.
Yeah.
Okay,
Commercial, yes.
all right.
Incentivize solar energy installations. Is this the no planning review or fee? Is that applicable to the city of Brisbane, or is that?
That is a vestige from some other notes we were taking, so perhaps we should look into that, Karen.
I think I remember Ken mentioning that in the Green Building Ordinance Subcommittee that he's not looking at them. I forget, it was 1 or 2 meetings ago that he talked about how he used to only get like one a month, and now he's getting 3 a month, and that, yeah, I don't know.
There's no planning review, but there is a
And they,
permit, and we don't charge.
yeah, I remember him addressing that a little bit in the meeting. I just don't remember the specifics.
We can report back.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would, to my fellow committee members, I would recommend that, yeah, it sounds like there's more things that can be done here, even if we are incentivizing making the barriers to the permitting process lower, certainly things like the bulk purchases, that Michelle, that you had mentioned, and what other, I think there's room for more things here, even if we're already doing some.
Yeah, I would put a
Yeah, and
yes
maybe,
for that.
maybe talk with banks and things like that.
Yeah, Lori, and the council's working on the bulk purchase, right? You said, Karen, so.
The council approved the program that Foster City's taking the lead on, so it's going to roll out in the spring, I think, where they are going to get this bulk purchase price and offer and do outreach to at least all residents in Brisbane about how you can use this streamlined program to purchase solar for your home.
Heck, you can even buy solar shutters. Those like the Roman shutters, the wooden shutters. You can buy solar shutters for your house. Anyway. Number 4, participate in energy upgrade programs. We have participated in that past. We're still ongoing with that program, right?
Yes. That program is ongoing. So is there anything else, the city should do to promote the program or, get the word out?
Yeah, I think there is. My understanding is that property assessed clean energy financing is once again available, and I think that, and I think it's available for commercial installations, is that right? So I think we need to do another outreach. We did quite a lot of outreach when the energy upgrade program got going, but I don't think we've done any since PACE financing became available, so we should probably do that again, and, maybe meet with Mitch Bull from the Chamber of Commerce to advertise it sort of commercially.
Yeah, because commercial is where the biggest gains can be made often. Promote PG&E commercial and industrial energy efficiency demand response programs. Karen, are we doing that?
What's the significance of the gray?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, the gray, it should all be white.
Okay,
Sorry about that.
easy enough.
Yeah.
So we do some of that, but I think we should do more of that.
I haven't worked directly with this.
Right, so the county is doing some countywide outreach campaigns for specific sectors. I think they just did one for auto dealerships, and so there are opportunities to work both with the county on some of the commercial programs, but also with PG&E. They have a direct install program for some of the local businesses. The things that I've seen are, a letter from the mayor, maybe one of the city council members could walk, the business district with, the energy auditor. Because, the hardest thing for PG&E's programs are, how do you get people interested and how do you get people to sort of pay attention, right? And I think, a lot of times having a sort of elected official can, kind of wake people up a little bit. Oh, like this is a legitimate program, or oh, the mayor thinks that this is important, so maybe I should, give these guys a chance, something like that. Or put it on your website. So some cities, have. I haven't looked at the Brisbane website recently, but links to PG&E's programs, and again, we could do more workshops or posters or brochures at the planning desk. Plan check desk.
It seems like it would make sense to do some sort of educational program that would include both energy upgrade and all its rebates and financing mechanisms and the PG&E at the same time, so that, you could say to people, here's a list of all the things that you could possibly get. And does Energy Upgrade do that on its website? I haven't looked at their website for a while. Do they have like a portal that makes it easy to figure out what all you qualify for?
I think so. I think if you sort of put in your zip code and, maybe put in some of the types of projects you're interested in, it would tell you what they would pay for and maybe how much.
But does it include PG&E rebates or just the
You might have to go to PG&E separately.
Yeah, see,
I know.
that's something else that could be done at the county level. I mean, really, if we want people to do this stuff, then they need one place to go where they can see, this is how much it's going to cost me, and this is how much help I can get.
Yeah. One thing we could do is, in the plan, or separate from the plan, we could summarize the ideas for things that should be done at the countywide level, just to put them all in one place, and then kind of make it more of an official ask and see if it goes anywhere.
That would be good, because I think it really makes sense to do some of these things that way.
Okay, so EC6 is, implement a program for shade trees. So what we've seen are, some cities, like City of Berkeley, will actually provide a free shade tree if you commit to watering it for, 3 years.
We don't have anything, do we?
No, we don't have a program in place like that, and that's on residential properties, or?
Mostly in residential, but, it's certainly applicable to commercial properties as well.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And we talked about getting trees, but the Friends of the Urban Forest only services San Francisco, and we don't have any tree provider, like low-cost tree provider that is covering our area. So then this would have to be a city initiative, I think. A city-funded initiative, likely.
Yeah, so we should talk about, when the committee talks about all these things, they should think of, I can't tell you there's a dollar amount, but a pool of money and how you would prioritize using that.
Yeah.
Would you prioritize this?
No, probably not.
Probably not what?
Most people here don't, well, businesses use air conditioning, but most houses here don't use air
Yeah.
conditioning. And I think that, we put up solar panels, they put up a shade tree, whoops, which will happen.
So if we were to pursue a shade tree program, it would probably, I'm guessing, we would need to target it at commercial. Because as you said, the commercial users in town are the users of air conditioner here.
I'm not so sure about that. I think, we're going to have more and more occasions when people
Yeah.
want air conditioning. So I think it's going to be more of a need in the future than it is now.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah, probably.
So I don't think it would hurt at all.
But again, as Karen said, when we're considering this particular one, we have to consider funding because,
Oh, sure.
okay. 7, EC7, funding for energy efficiency and renewable energy. Establish a revolving fund. Now, I think Glenn already mentioned that she feels this would be better done at the county level, that getting the city of Brisbane to establish a revolving fund might be difficult.
I still think we should maybe think about putting it on our list because, we established a, fund for first-time home buyers. And, we've established funds for other things. And this, I think, is really worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, I think it's worthwhile, too. It's just,
And I think probably we should pursue both things.
so do we still
Countywide
have
and
a
local.
fund for first-time home buyers?
no.
No.
The
Maybe
county
this could be,
can reestablish at the county level.
maybe this could be a fund for, kind of the low-tech plug-and-play solution, where someone's not going out to do a $20,000 retrofit that takes, however many years to get your money back on, but the people who simply are willing to commit to, buying a solar panel or a, $1,500 array and pay it back over the course of a year. I know you don't seem to like that idea, Glenn, but.
No, I don't. I think, well, in this category anyway, it's, I guess it includes both energy efficiency and renewable energy. I think in a lot of cases, energy efficiency makes a lot more sense than installing a solar panel. And the reason for having it sort of vetted by somebody is that a lot of times people don't know that. and they could go out and spend a lot of money on a solar panel, you know, and $1,000 to me is a lot of money. They could go spend that $1,000 and not do anything to reduce their greenhouse emissions. And you know,
Yeah,
when
you're just moving it around.
energy efficiency would make a lot more sense, but you really need to know kind of how to do that and what to do. So I don't support just providing money for people to buy solar panels. I don't, without doing anything else.
The cheapest, most abundant form of energy potential is energy efficiency.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But in some cases, you know, I think it's, you know, it's going to take hundreds of small solutions to get us through this. It's not always going to be the silver bullet. So I'm not willing to close the door on any small solution.
I'm happy to have the city buy me a solar panel for my roof.
Yeah, I'm happy to pay it back.
It's true. I mean, no matter how efficient you are, you're still going to use some energy.
I'll be happy to have the city buy people solar panels after their houses have been insulated.
Well, if we're going to propose a plan to the council, and this is an element,
Yep.
maybe, and if we're going to ask for a revolving fund, maybe a condition is that you do an energy efficiency audit to qualify for a loan to get the panels, put it together.
Sounds
Right.
good to me.
But that adds a qualification, and, you know, that, I think that's a good idea, actually.
I did speak to California First staff today and about that funding, so it's similar to PACE. That you would put the loan against your home to get the solar panels, but as well as take out your lawn, and you'd get reimbursed, or you'd get the money for putting drought-tolerant lawn. So at least that's somewhat energy savings and water savings in one.
Okay.
What? I get money for taking out my lawn?
Too late.
Too late? I'm always too far ahead of the curve. I missed out on PACE, because I did things 6 months too early. I missed out on my free lawn money, because I took that out 6 months too early.
But you get the satisfaction of being a trendsetter.
Yeah, really, what are you doing this week that we can get money for?
Exactly. Yeah, let us know.
Nothing new, actually. Sorry. Funding for energy efficiency and renewable energies. How does C8 differ from?
This is
Commercial.
Oh, commercial.
Yeah, that one's commercial.
There we go.
Yes, no on that?
Same thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay, so EM1, I think we talked about that one already, the energy efficient lighting. So that one is a yes, it's already happening. And the EM2 is environmentally preferred purchasing policy. I don't know, does the city have something for their own operations?
I don't think we have any purchasing policy. We're definitely doing a lot on, well, I guess I'm further down. Equipment, I think we're looking at energy efficiency for anything that we buy for a city facility.
does that include vehicles? Like hybrid cars for city vehicles where possible, or?
Yeah, we looked at, Bay Area Air Quality Management District had a grant for an electric vehicle, and it was for commute, and it had to, I think, to qualify, you had to at least use it for 40,000 miles a year, and we hadn't thought through that if we had kind of a pool where anyone in the city could check out the vehicle and use it, we might be able to get those miles, but a lot of our driving is,
Brisbane's too small. Not
But-
far enough to drive.
they're going to county level meetings and stuff,
Yeah.
so we're going to look at that, yeah.
Good.
What about, do we have any, like, would we ever get electric police cars and that type of thing?
Oh, what a cool idea.
Yeah, I don't,
They'd be
Ask.
sneaky.
I can ask. I don't want to speak for them, but yeah.
They're also fast.
They are.
Get them a bunch of Teslas, I'm sure they wouldn't complain.
Yeah, they would take those.
So one thing I brought up, we're getting way too sidetracked here, but one thing I brought up with, I don't know whether it was Natalie, I think it was actually Natalie and Stuart, was just recycled paper and recycled office supplies, because I don't think the city's actually doing a whole lot of that.
Right, so that would be a purchasing policy, and you're right, I don't think that we do, so that could be a good target.
Right, we do have that, and under the solid waste measures, there was WM1, environmentally preferred purchasing policy related to waste reduction.
Okay, EM3, so are we done with EM2? I mean, so it sounds like there's a lot to be done there. A sustainable purchasing policy that emphasizes recycled materials and Energy Star equipment. Oh, it sounds like Karen said they've already considering it with equipment, but not necessarily with materials. So, stuff to do there. And mandate all new municipal buildings. Aren't we already doing that? Not that we've got any new municipal buildings coming up, but they will be Cal Green. Renewable energy installations. We have solar panels on City Hall, right?
We don't,
We don't.
nope.
There's the PV room up there, but there's no PV equipment in it.
We set up and we put in the PVC white reflective roofing, we're ready. And there's just been a lot of, I don't know, back and forth about, I guess, on the staff level, you can purchase the solar panels and just put them up, and then I think that was a non-starter at one point for cost. It was probably when the economy turned. And then there's power purchase agreements, and we looked into some a little bit at the staff level, but it was such a new product that you get a bank, and Morgan Stanley was interested with us, but they want to sell, like, we use about 200 kilowatts. Does that sound like are you a numerical person? And they want like a megawatt, so we were looking at trying to combine with a project Daly City was doing. I don't know if Daly City ever got their project going. And when the power purchase agreements, so the Morgan Stanley would tell you that they'll put the solar on the roof and they'll maintain it and they'll sell you energy at this cost. And you just don't know if you're getting the best deal or not, because it's not as ubiquitous as a home loan, where you know if you're getting a good deal because you can shop online for 10 other deals. So we weren't convinced that we could just bring this one offer to council, and I think the step would be to do a request for proposals and see who wants to provide solar to us. But and it adds on to, do you do a little solar farm on vacant land, and do you put some solar panels out at the marina, or is it cost efficient to also put them in the parking lot? And the technology keeps changing on us, so we want to, and it just has not, the firing gun hasn't been shot on that, but it's definitely a goal.
And is the building energy efficient?
Did you go on a tour when we reopened City Hall? We had a tour about all of the
missed
recycled
that
materials
one.
we used and all the energy efficiency measures we put in. So we put in a whole new HVAC system that heats and cools water and then blows air over water and is a lot more energy efficient. And we have lighting timers, so if somebody doesn't turn off a light, it'll turn off in a common area within a certain time. We have motion sensors in all the offices. We have a number of things that we did, and we were able to get an Energy Star for this year and last year that I believe the qualification was you were using 75% of the energy that you used before. So we have cut back. I wouldn't want to quote numbers other than that 75%, but yeah, at this building, with the improvements, we did a lot of energy savings measures.
Okay.
Funding for energy efficient and renewable energy. Revolving funds for public buildings. I don't see the city of Brisbane doing that, but what do you think, Glenn?
I think that's something that really makes sense for the county to do.
Yeah.
For public buildings all over the county.
Either the county's going to do it or the city's going to tackle it as they tackle it, so. WC1, set higher diversion rate goals, increase participation in recycling programs, collectibles. So the city just, now, has the city already signed the new contract with, SSF Scavenger, or are they still deciding whether they're gonna sign with South San Francisco or Ecology?
That passed at
It
the
did?
November 6th, yeah, council meeting.
November 6th? I knew I wanted to go to that one for a reason. So it's Recology, yay?
No, so Recology is just
I mean-
doing Zone 3, which is Tunnel Avenue. South San Francisco still has the rest of the city.
Yeah, so, but we had been considering turning all of Brisbane over to Recology, right?
No, I don't think so.
I think that was kind of contingent on whether South San Francisco was going to do composting or not, because we wanted that, and I guess they are going to do it. And
Okay.
when does that start?
I like that question. I don't want to be responsible for the answer, but they had a tour of their new anaerobic digester in September, but it wasn't operational. And each time I've asked to be able to report to you guys, it was October, and now the last comment I got was January. So they are trying to get that facility operational, and then they're going to start.
Taking green waste?
Yeah.
And is
No.
their goal zero waste, like Recology's?
I don't know the answer to that, but I can look into it.
Now, are they just doing digestion, or are they also doing compost?
What I understood is the anaerobic digester, I don't know if you.
It'll take all the composted material and turn it into methane gas to run their fleet.
So what I understood was there are only a certain number of them in the area, and it's a step in the composting process. So it makes it more cost efficient for them to have their own facility do that, and then, because the compost actually gets taken elsewhere to get finally completed in its cycle. But
So does it
Want-
produce compost and gas, or just gas?
It produces
Both.
compost and
Okay.
gas. You can use the byproducts.
if you guys want more detail, we can bring that at a later meeting.
Doesn't
This
matter
is
right
all
now.
what I've heard.
Yeah. I'm pretty familiar with ADs. So EM6, funding for energy efficiency and renewable energy. Oh, didn't we just talk about that one?
Yeah, you were on
I-
WC1.
W.
Now we're
Oh,
on
my
WC2.
goodness.
We could try to go quickly through the remaining ones if
That's a great
fatigue
idea.
is setting in.
Pardon?
We could try to
Fatigue is
just,
setting in.
we could just run through them quickly. So WC2, the remainder of the WC measures are in support of setting a higher diversion rate. So, goal, so if you set the goal, then WC2, WC3, and WC4 all are ways to achieve that higher diversion rate. So commercial recycling ordinance, it's, basically mandating that businesses recycle. If they don't, you have the sort of authority to fine them or, impose some kind of penalty.
And where does the funding for that kind of staff come from?
From within, I presume.
Could we have bounty hunters?
Right, from the fines.
You didn't recycle, pay up. Okay.
So, right, so that's something to consider. And then WC3 is the sustainable vendor policy. So, whenever you have a big event, require things to be compostable, minimize bottles of water, for example. And so that's just setting up a policy, from the city saying that this is what we expect.
Organic cotton T-shirts. Where's my gavel? Sorry.
Yeah, I think those are all pretty clear and understandable. And municipal measures as well. Environmentally preferred purchasing policy for waste reduction and establishes zero waste policy.
Right, that one's for government operations. So that's another, government leading by example. So, in
Yeah.
your own facilities, you will commit to, reducing waste as much as possible.
All garbage cans at City Hall will be removed.
Right.
You bring it, you take it away.
Or then leave no trace.
And then the water measures?
So the water measures are, one, EW1 is related to incentives. So, does the city have any programs to provide?
They do,
We have, but
through Bakwa,
Yeah, Bauska.
Baska, there you go.
those are a cost to the city to support those, and my understanding is that we're now contracting with a company to do landscape audits, and we're going to do that instead of this, because now that the new energy code requires, and the new state law and the regulations require these fixtures, people are going to do them anyways, so we're going to take that funding and do landscape audits and make sure that people aren't wasting water.
So, but it's two different things, because with Baska, if I choose to put in a new toilet, even if I'm not remodeling my house, I get a rebate on that, right? So it's apples and oranges.
It is, but if you were doing any help, you guys are in the green building.
Yeah, I understand that. I
too.
understand that. If you're doing a remodel or something that requires a permit, you're going to get hit with the water upgrades. But the rebates from Bosco were nice, because even when I wasn't doing a remodeling on my house, I put in a new toilet.
And I think
You
the
know.
city funded those, even though it was a BAUSCA program. It was
Yeah.
still city contribution. So in terms of wanting to conserve water, we think that money's better spent
Okay,
to manage landscapes and get people to reduce.
probably you're right. I mean, I can name a dozen businesses in town that like to water the sidewalk, so.
Well, you can always call in.
Bank of
I
America.
have. So, okay, yeah, it's probably better spent. I'm just saying, I'm kind of sad to see it go away, because it was a nice help to the residents, even if they weren't, you know,
Do we still have that? So they don't, okay, never mind.
it's going away.
Do we know how much money was spent on that per year? I mean, if we are going to try to get money, and establish a list of priorities, maybe we could bring it back.
I can find out. I don't know off the top of my head.
Because I agree with Barbara. People go to the hardware store and buy shower heads, and get a low-flow shower head.
Okay, EW2 is water conservation ordinance. So related to the outdoor ordinance, I think, there is a water budget that projects are required to meet. And, some cities have chosen to bring down the sort of threshold. Right now, I think it's like 5,000 square feet. So you could require, smaller landscape areas to also be more water efficient. So there could be an opportunity there as well for the city to be more aggressive.
I was told from the planning department a couple months ago, I got these notes, that we adopted both in 2010 in our
Okay.
municipal code. So I don't know if that's current to what everybody else is doing or not.
I think that sounds about right.
Okay.
Okay, then the last two are just cross-cutting measures, and one is to participate in the countywide Green Business Program. So that is a program supported by the county. Karen, do you know, is Brisbane participating?
I'm not that familiar with
Okay. Yeah, I know, I suspect it'd probably be maybe $1,000 or a little bit more for Brisbane to, contribute to the program, and then the businesses in town can participate. And what that requires is basically a checklist. Are they using low flow, fixtures? Are they using energy efficient light bulbs? Are there materials like, are they using kind of environmentally friendly, like dish detergent? And then if they, meet all the items on the checklist, they get that little green business placard.
Is the checklist online?
I'm not sure. I think it should be. Yeah. I can look into that and send it over to Karen.
I was going to ask if the county does look favorably on cities incorporating measures that aren't on this list into their climate action plans? I mean, how much latitude do we really have?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
You absolutely have latitude to rename things, to modify the description, to customize it for your city. This just represents sort of preliminary list for which they have established calculations for
Okay.
greenhouse gas emission savings, but we have worked with other cities to tweak these, and if there are things that you want to add, we can certainly add them. And then any calculations that we do, we would customize them to sort of your vision for the measure and also the city's characteristics.
So Glenn, did you want to explore A2, the lease, green lease, landlords, facilities? Because I know that's been a big issue with us. Getting landlords to participate.
Well, it's sort of related to encouraging businesses to, to upgrade their energy efficiency and install solar, or else I'm not understanding it quite correctly.
So green leases are a mechanism that you can promote to sort of encourage landlords to install more energy efficient, fixtures. It sort of addresses the split incentive issue where the landlord, owns the buildings, but then it's a tenant that pays the utility bill, so then the landlord just wants to put in the cheapest,
So how does it actually work to incentivize them? I'm not sure I understand.
Yeah, that's what I don't get either.
Right. I think the idea is, you encourage, so landlords can sort of say that, oh, what I have is a green facility, and they might get, maybe a higher, slightly higher kind of rent to offset, the cost of putting in more efficient,
Okay,
items.
okay. So it's not quite a certification program, but kind of that idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
All right, so I think Glenn and you and I should meet as the energy subcommittee and start working on this in more depth. Do you have anything else you want to share with us? I certainly feel like we have kept you plenty and appreciate your efforts.
Sure. So let me just go through a couple of next steps then.
We still have this.
Just to see, where are we going with all this? This is what a typical environmental action plan looks like, but obviously, there's latitude here, and we can help tell you which components are the most important or which ones are kind of standard. But usually, we want to present your greenhouse gas inventory, the 2005, the 2010, and then, what are the energy, solid waste, and water strategies, maybe off the handout that you want to sort of, the bulk of the plan would talk about what the city's doing, what they plan to do, and who would implement it and how you would monitor progress.
I have a question. Do you have any kind of interim report of where we are right now in 2014 on greenhouse gases? Because it is quite probably different now that now that the economy's booming again.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't want to, set our expectations just here's your 2015 report, flunk.
yeah, I was sort of scoffing at the 6% reduction in 2010 because it's all economic downturn and it's not anything we did and it's not permanent. It's going to come right back.
It's already coming
It's already back and it's already going to be.
Yeah, so
prevented.
CCAG has gotten funding to do the community inventories for 2011, 2012, and 2013, and maybe 2014 as well. So that effort will be kicking off early next year. So, I would expect to get some updated data for the city sometime middle to end of next year.
Maybe they should just skip to 2014.
Yeah, maybe. The 2014 data, let's see, PG&E usually doesn't publish 2014 until the summer, fall of the following year.
So maybe 2013 would be, because I feel like otherwise we're going to be waiting on stuff.
I know.
Anyway,
Yeah, so I expect that data to be coming.
great.
Okay, so next steps, I say here finalize list of measures, but I think we're kind of early in the process still. So, maybe it's more like develop the list of measures for the environmental action plan. And then once the environmental action plan measures are selected, then Ben and I can help you to, estimate what are the energy and greenhouse gas reduction potentials of each of the measures, based on data from the city.
And our legislated goal or our target is 15%?
That's right, 15% below your 2005 levels. By
15% of the 41% that's not transportation.
It's actually a smaller percentage than that, I think,
Yeah, it's
if
not
you
40.
take out local transportation.
But that's not sustainable.
So I have a question. Have any of the environmental action plans or climate action plans that you've seen so far for the county, is there anything really outside the box or innovative in any of them? Is there anything other than this, same old, same old?
Most of the ones in San Mateo County have been kind of same old, same old. The cities I know of with what I think of as more interesting and exciting climate action plans are, San Francisco has a really solid one, and then Berkeley has a very good one. So in some ways, kind of the players that you expect. Palo Alto is working on a climate action plan, and they're thinking very big picture. They're thinking like carbon neutral by 2025. What would it take to get there? Fort Collins in Colorado also has a carbon neutral sort of goal. So there are cities that, are being kind of thinking outside the box.
Do you have access to those that you could
yeah.
share with us? So we can see some outside the box thinking? Because I would like us to do some outside the box thinking. And, small is not always an advantage, but in a case like this, it might be, where we could do some things that really might set an example. Whether it's going to have some gigantic impact right here, right now, depends. But let's see what the possibilities are, because I just feel like what I see here is, not as inspiring as I'd like to see.
Absolutely. So, so that's what I would ask the committee to, maybe when I send you some of these examples from other cities and you can flip through them and see, does anything jump out at you that we should include? That would be really great.
Okay.
I would love to see Brisbane put something forward that was, really caught people's attentions in a good way.
Yeah, it might turn on a light bulb, excuse the expression, of something that we see that maybe then we can think, oh, you know what? This is an opportunity where we can do something here or there that's different. Like setting up a solar energy generation company in Crocker Industrial Park and get all of the property owners to buy in on it and, put solar panels on all of those buildings in one energy company and then power the whole town on it, or whatever.
Yeah, community scale energy systems.
Yeah, yeah.
People are really excited about smart energy cities these days, kind of like microgrids at the community scale, and generate your own power. So generation, storage, and demand response in all a dynamic way. So, okay. So I had also put together a proposed schedule. You can see here we're in November, kind of kicking off the project, and thought it would probably take December and January to develop the list of environmental action plan measures, and then perhaps sort of in April or maybe March of next year, Ben and I would start sort of doing the data collection needed to do the analysis, and then maybe we could shoot to have a draft, by late spring, early summer next year.
Great.
Okay, well, here's the contact information for myself and for Ben. And, I'll be in close contact with Karen, and we can talk about when it might make sense for us to come back. And I think in the meanwhile, we have a number of items to send, to Karen to distribute to you all. And I understand that, Barbara and Glenn, you're going to meet and work on this a little bit. I think, Ben, what we should do is send them sort of a cleaned up copy, maybe our notes from the meeting today, and then you can work off of that. If that
Thank you
sounds
so
good to you.
much.
So, okay, well, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
So, should we do the approval of the minutes?
Sure, but let's get them on the screen. Yes.
That'd be great.
Sure. So Glenn,
Yeah.
when do you want to meet as the Energy Subcommittee?
I didn't bring my calendar.
Okay,
Sorry.
all right.
When's our next open space meeting? When's the December meeting?
See, we're second Wednesday, so it should be
Oh, sorry.
December 10th.
Yeah. Let's talk about it on Monday, okay?
Okay.
I'm just not sure right now. I'm thinking this is not going to take all that long.
Yeah.
It's going to be a pretty short list.
Yeah, I mean, I think unless we find a way to be creative and expand outside the box, it will be pretty.
You know, I'll be happy to be as creative as anybody wants, but it all takes money. And you
Yeah,
don't
I
have
know.
any. That's the damn trouble.
I know. Bye-bye.
Good
Thank
night.
you so
Thank you very
much.
much.
Looking for my copies of the minutes from each one of these.
This meeting of Open Space and Ecology is back in session. Our next order of business is to approve the minutes for September 10th. Do I have any comments on the minutes?
Looks okay to me.
The only thing I saw was Salmon read the email by Mary Goodart. Was it Mary Goodart or was it Mary
That's
Goodart?
good, Kance.
Yeah. So that needs to be fixed.
Okay.
Anything else? Oh, and then I had one question. Item 11, approval of the minutes. Staff will have a meeting about the dying Monterey Pines on Friday the 12th. Was that September 12th? And did that meeting happen September 12th? And was there news from that?
Yeah, we did have a meeting. We were going to include that in staff updates.
Okay. If you could just maybe put September the 12th rather than the 12th, it might, if somebody needs to go back and refer to this, it might make it clearer.
Right.
Great. Any other comments about the meetings for September 10th? Can I have a motion for approval?
I so move.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, draft minutes for October 8th. Do I have any comments? No comments?
Just a second.
Oh, sorry.
If you needed me to change the slide, just let me know.
Okay. Could you back it up one, please?
That was a long meeting.
That was-
Yes,
It's just-
it was.
Maybe I could just ask from my notes and then you can tell me, yes, that's there. We were going to do a letter with a policy recommendation on the closed courtyard. Which
It's in,
one?
it's page 5, number 7.
That's right.
Look, on the screen, it's the bottom lower right.
That's number 7.
Yeah.
Okay, we didn't do the letter on the subcommittee. Was it on the subcommittee list? For Michael and I to do the letter?
Mm-hmm. It's on there.
Okay. Was that on the subcommittee list? I think?
Yes, it was.
Okay. I think that's all I know.
Glenn, have you had a chance to read it? Still working on it.
Chance to read what?
The minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. Are we ready for a motion for approval?
Yep, I am.
Would anybody like the motion?
I move that we approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. So next on our agenda, la-da-da-da-da, is oral communications.
Yeah, I'd like to, I don't have the letter of the BB update that was sent by Wayne, but I did want to let people know that there's the Brisbane Baylands Community Action Group.
Brisbane Baylands Community Action Group, also known as the BBCAG, will not be meeting in November or December. Their next meeting, I believe, is January 20th, and at that time they'll have like 2 really good speakers that night. So mark it on your calendar for January 20th.
Great. Thank you, Michelle. I just wanted to throw out a couple of things. I had meant to send them an email, but my week was vicious and mean and chewed me up and spat me out. There was an article floating around the internet about whales beaching themselves with plastic-filled stomachs. So it's not just albatrosses anymore. It's whales too now. It's hitting larger forms of life, and the only silver lining I can see on this is that whales have long had a devoted following, so perhaps the fact that it's hitting whales will call more attention to this terrible, horrible problem. Also, the U.S. and China met today and actually made some progress on joint greenhouse gas emissions, which is really good news, because for some reason the left hand thinks it can't do anything without the right. I don't know why, but whatever. If they cooperate, so much the better for all of us. And then just to follow up on the Lippman Science Fair, Natalie sent emails. I sent a follow-up email also, but did not hear back. Although I did, being a parent, get a piece of paper saying that the meeting is on November 18th. So at the very least I can show up there and they will not be able to ignore me. Also, your issue that you were mentioning, oh no, forget that. So we had said in January we wanted to start to be a tentative goal for the training, as mentioned in item 10 of the September 10th meetings for the Cal Green. And you had said that, or staff will do outreach to organizations that currently give these trainings and ask if they would like to give a training in Brisbane. I was wondering if the ball is anywhere.
That's also in staff updates.
Oh, good. Good. I just want to throw these things out here so I make sure they don't get lost. And if you just tell me staff update and I'll shut up. Happy to. Okay. And then Mr. Ray Miller said he would search for previous information from the Energy Subcommittee, Climate Action Plan Subcommittee. Did Ray come up with those things, or did anybody follow up with Ray?
Natalie and I talked about seeing how tonight's meeting went, and defer to anyone on the committee who worked on it back then, because what's available to help promote, well, conservation maybe hasn't changed, but to promote energy savings has changed and progressed, so we didn't know how valuable it would be to paw through his old information unless the committee, and I guess I'm kind of looking at Glenn, because you were involved back then.
The only thing I think would be kind of useful, but maybe it's not that necessary. The last time we had, when I worked on the previous incarnation of the Energy Strategy Subcommittee, we had talked a little bit with Mitch Bull from the Chamber of Commerce about how to get in touch with building landlords for Brisbane's commercial district, including the industrial park, in any meaningful way. And that's going to come up again. And my understanding from Mitch was that most of the landlords are actually absentee. A lot of those buildings, I guess, are owned by real estate trusts in places like Hong Kong. So that's one of the problems, actually, with an energy strategy in Brisbane, because, tenants might be interested in, reducing their electricity bills, but we not only have absentee landlords, but really distant ones, as I remember. So I was kind of wondering if there are any notes about that, but I think it might be worth it to meet with Mitch Bull again at some point. And also, a lot of things have changed in the industrial park, so maybe we could just start over.
So why don't we start with staff checking with him and seeing what he recalls or what he can tell us now, and whether it might make sense to have him drop in and talk to the committee too.
Yeah. And okay, that would be good. Or maybe just Barbara and I, and you could meet with him at some point.
Yeah, that's a good idea too.
One other thing, if we're going to do outreach on the state, Title 24, it really makes sense to try to get contractors at that event.
Yeah, that's who it would be focused on. We'll give you an update unless you guys want it now.
Okay, no, it's fine.
Miller was going to run by the city attorney, possibility of requiring facilities to get an energy audit. Is that in our update?
No, that's not. I mean, I think that falls under the energy or the
Yeah, I
environmental
think
action plan umbrella.
there may be a couple of things that we would need to run by the city attorney if we're going to recommend ordinances. So maybe we should just.
Just wait on that?
Yeah, what I heard him, what I thought he was saying was that would be something, if we're proposing it with whatever else, then we'd involve the city attorney. So we didn't take action with the city attorney yet.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just trying to get the cart before the horse, or the horse, yeah, I think I'm doing it backwards. Anyway, I did talk with the library, and they're between management right now, but they were amenable to the idea of having a OSEC shelf where we could place documentaries and books for public consumption. So that was all mine. I wanted to follow up from that. Any other oral communications for things not on the agenda?
You guys had seen an email that when I attended the California Adaptation Forum, there were a couple of DVDs about green energy and greening. They're playing on Channel 27 for November, December, but those could go on the shelf when they're done.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff we could place there once we get rolling, and that would be you and I think Michelle, as part of community education and outreach. So,
Okay.
but I did talk to the library, and they at least seemed to think that it was a possibility.
Okay.
So a review of green building ordinance subcommittee, review recommendations. Either Glenn, how about Kima?
Sure.
Would you like doing that?
Absolutely. So, in the memo that you see in front of you, prepared by Ken Johnson from the Planning Department, I'll just summarize, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he basically indicates sort of the activities of the Green Building Ordinance Subcommittee, sort of what the intention was in coming together, and then notes that there were, ultimately the building official recommended that we get rid of the current green building ordinance. He lays out several reasons for that recommendation. The primary one of which is really that, the state of California has far exceeded anything that we were proposing, and because those things are all required, it's no longer these outside certifying companies or organizations which add uncertainty and expense to the process. So it's really a big win for anybody that cares about green building and energy efficiency and all that, because the state has gone in and really done some good work here. Also, that they're on a cycle of upgrading, so the requirement will go up again in a few years. So based on that, the recommendation of the Green Building Ordinance Subcommittee to the Open Space and Ecology Committee, as well as to the Planning Commission, is to recommend that we scrap the Green Building Ordinance.
I just want to say one thing about that, and I am in agreement with the Green Building Subcommittee, Ordinance Subcommittee, and I think that we should wait for data as recommended. However, our meeting tonight with our energy consultants really put it in stark contrast to me that Brisbane, at some point in the future, needs to create another REACH code for green building, because a 15% reduction on 41% of the pie is squat. Really, I mean, it's pissing in the wind, excuse me. I'm a little upset. So, yeah, I mean, that comes to what? A 10% reduction on a system that is using 5 planets on average? That's nothing. That's pathetic. It's pathetic. So, I understand why it's come down the way it's come down, and I'm satisfied for the moment, but I will not be satisfied for long. Thank you.
The other concern that I have is, before we scrap the old green building ordinance, what about development agreements that have been made for buildings to be built under our old ordinance? And will they be subject to the new California state green building ordinance, such as the development of the biotech out on Sierra Point, and the development of the other 2 buildings out on Sierra Point? Because they have, we made development agreements, and some of them are, I think, might have been tied to our, at that time, green building ordinance or whatever. So how does that affect those projects?
I'm reluctant to be the give you the official answer as not a planning
That's-
department staff, and I don't know if Kima's kind of looking like he remembers, but I believe that, well,
Can we
I
just find
thought
out?
that- Yeah, that repealing this ordinance didn't, I think those in that period still are required to.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm certainly not an expert, but I think if I remember correctly, the general rule is that, when you enter into an agreement, the terms of that agreement stand regardless of the conditions that change. So if we had tightened up our green building ordinance, and this is the context that I remember Ken saying it in, buildings that had already been permitted would not, or developments that had already been permitted would not be required to meet those new goals, because they received their permit under the old regime. So with Title 24, and again, I think it would be great if staff could confirm this, but it's really the code that's in place at the time you get your permit is the code that you agree to build to.
Or your development agreement.
Well, yeah, or whatever. When you make that agreement,
Yep.
that becomes the contract between yourself and the jurisdiction, and you're not subject to changes in the future.
And therein lies the problem with this type of agreements that we made.
No, I mean, it's standard business practice
know.
when you agree to something that both sides have to live up to their end of the bargain. I mean,
Yeah, we just gave them a longer timeline than,
yeah.
okay.
So they will be subject to the requirements of the green building ordinance?
That's what I'm
They're-
confirmed, but that's,
Yeah, I mean, they're subject,
Okay.
so if they have a permit, then they've already made their agreement with the city of what they're going to build, because that's in the permit.
So no, they will not be subject to the new green building ordinance.
Not to the new one.
Not to the new one, to the old one.
Right.
If that was included in it, yeah.
Right, so I mean,
Actually-
nothing changes for something that's already been permitted, just because the law changes. It's going to be exactly the way it was. If the law hadn't changed, it would be exactly the way it was.
So-
Even if we updated the green building ordinance, it would still be exactly the way it was, because they would not be subject to any changes.
So we need to be very careful that the city of Brisbane does not extend the deadline on any of the current agreements beyond their current dates, so that they will fall under the new building, green building code. Because they can say, like, for instance, someone was given a 10-year deadline to develop, and they come in and ask for a 2-year extension. We should not grant that.
Yeah, I agree.
And
Absolutely.
so we need to be vigilant about paying attention to those landmark dates that come up as they come up. And not, and that it doesn't just happen as an administrative action by the planning director. I think that's very important, because there are a lot of very large projects that have been given permission to, basically had their plans approved that have sat vacant for numerous years. So we really need to pay attention to that.
So can I investigate that at the staff level first? And it sounds
Please.
like if that were to be a practice, then it would be something, again, that OSEC should make a recommendation to the
Yes.
council, I think.
Yes, please.
Is it, might it be possible to write a development agreement to require that the developer is subject to the state regulations that are enforced at the time they start
Whatever
construction?
the current code is, yeah, I mean, that's a good question. Again, I don't.
Because
I'm
if
not
we
an
could write
attorney.
that into development agreements, then we could be kind of sure that the requirements would be, as the state requirements go up, which they're going to do.
Yes, that had been recommended at the time that these were agreed upon, and that didn't happen.
Yeah, I mean,
I think if you have an agreement with somebody, you have to hold true to that agreement for at least some period of time. Do building permits expire?
Yes, they do. That's what
They
I'm
do.
saying. They expire. We need to pay attention to those expiration dates on these large projects and make sure they do not get extended as some kind of administrative action without note.
yeah, I think to Karen's point, it's probably
Yeah, so
good
let's let-
if staff finds out what the position
Yes.
is. And then I have no problem with adding that either in our memorandum as a separate, request to city council. I think that's a prudent, step to make that
Yeah.
explicit.
Yeah, that's fine.
So is everybody content with green building ordinance report?
With the report, yes.
Barbara, is your microphone on?
Miriam? No, it wasn't, sorry. You know, my rant didn't get broadcasted.
Would you like to repeat pissing in the wind?
Vegetation management process?
Heard it.
Okay. I think we all understand the process. Where are we in the process? Is Fred Smith currently consulting with Shelter Belt, or is the plan in draft, or?
We just got Fred Smith on board
Okay.
a couple of weeks ago, so he is on step one. And
Alrighty.
We're hoping that he can do, I don't know if we've talked about this, or was this at the staff report level, he was going to present the open space plan that was developed in 2001 and kind of walk all of us through it. And so we're hoping that that can happen, and the vegetation management plan draft in January.
All right.
Good.
Sounds great. The annual report of accomplishments?
There's a couple of things on that I noticed, if I may.
Please.
First of all, on both the Habitat Restoration Earth Day and the Quarry Road cleanup, San Bruno Mountain Watch was integral in helping in both of those events, and they're not mentioned in here at all. And they should be. As a matter of fact, they were kind of, co-contributors
In
there.
coordination with, or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, they helped lead the habitat restoration in both of these events, and I think it's important to mention that. And then there's nothing in here about the invasive species brochure, which has now been completed and actually was handed out to the public on Saturday at the Mission Blue Nursery plant sale. Am I missing where it says that? I don't see it on here.
Under Community Festival, there's a little mention.
Yeah, but the invasive species brochure has been printed, completed and printed. I don't know how many copies we printed.
I think we have 1,500.
Okay. And if we go to print more, we should print it on maybe less expensive paper or less high-tech paper.
I think this was a donation from Arthur Court.
Oh, it's yeah, you know what the commentary was? It was really looks great. But the commentary was like, people opened it and like, wow, these look beautiful. It's like, oh, no, wait a second. And the brochure is very, very nice. And then I had to explain to people that the printing was, co-sponsored by this, that Mountain Watch didn't pay for the printing. That we didn't have the money to pay for the printing, but the city did it with, and it donated by. So then I want to make sure we tell people that when we pass them out, because they really are really nice.
So,
And you can even
Had-
include that in the annual report of accomplishments.
Yeah.
Donation by the court.
Yeah, and that we did it, worked in collaboration.
Sorry about that, go ahead.
head desk moment. We probably should have put a small thank to Elena and Arthur Court in the brochure.
Yes,
Yeah.
Whoops.
yeah. Because I didn't, it doesn't say who it's published by.
Oh, she's mentioned somewhere on there.
Yeah, but
Yes?
it doesn't say who published it and paid for it, I don't think.
Not paid for, no.
Okay.
Might be good for OSEC to send her a thank you letter. We
Brilliant.
could do that.
We could definitely do that.
I've not been good at that lately. I've not been good at that lately. And then when did we pass the
Polystyrene.
plastic bag ban?
That's what I was going to ask about. I think that was in this calendar year.
Was it in calendar year 2014?
Plastic
No, I
bags.
think it was.
The plastic bag ban.
2011, I think.
No, it wasn't that long ago,
I think it
was
was
it?
13.
13?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm recalling when the county did theirs. but-
Well, you know what? I think it's still fair game since we haven't done an annual report of accomplishments since 2010.
Maybe if we craft the title differently, yeah. Annual
It doesn't
annual report
matter.
of
I just,
accomplishments since
all of a
last
sudden, I'm like,
report.
when did we do that?
We could also say something about fossil fuels divestment and the council's resolution on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's, anything else?
I'm sure there's more. But I would have to go back through our minutes and see what we were working on.
We'll keep you posted when we put this on the council's agenda.
Great.
Okay.
I think they're pretty busy in December, so it'll probably be a meeting in January.
All right. That's, New Year. Sounds great to me. Any more comments on the annual report of accomplishments? Anybody else think of anything that's left off the top of their head? I'm sure if you do, you can also email Natalie.
Okay.
Not now.
Okay. Yeah, my brain's sort of gone to oatmeal. Subcommittee reports. Glenn and I were not able to get together, but we have a meeting already on the books for Monday. And we will draft our letter for the next meeting. Day in the park. Kima, I'm guessing you're not getting my emails either.
You've sent me emails?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because we were supposed to meet about reviewing for the day in the park.
I'll have to check. I may have gotten it and been tardy in my response. I apologize.
That's all right. It could also be that my email seems to have a particular capacity for going
And there's,
off into the ether and not reaching its destination.
and there's times when I've sent you an email and they bounce.
They should, if you ever, that ever happens, save it and send it to me in like a message or phone or something, and I will wave it underneath my husband's nose because he always says he can't do anything about my email problems because he doesn't have any evidence, or like any way to trace it back. So it's always, so please.
Okay.
And I will take it, I will go, see.
I'll do that. Okay.
Because this is a big problem. I have a lot of email problems.
know-
and it's just, yeah,
They still have AOL.
it's true.
Pretty reliable.
So,
I did not meet with you.
nope, because we couldn't communicate.
And
Michelle, do you have your calendar here tonight? Because I want to try something new. I want to try setting up our meetings in session because it seems to be extremely difficult for this committee to get any of its subcommittees scheduled.
okay.
So when do you have available next week?
Well, it's
I'm busy on weekends because I'm in Dickens Fair.
Yeah, I
so
know.
it pretty much has to be in the
Monday night
evening.
shot, Tuesday night I have singing, Wednesday night I have tap, Thursday night is council meeting, and Friday. Every night next week is pretty bad,
Okay.
unless you want to meet like at no. Yeah, next week's not looking good.
Okay, how about the week of the 24th?
Is that Thanksgiving week?
It is.
Yeah, it is.
Maybe I could just come to the Dickens Fair and dance with you or something, and you can tell.
Well, I mean, I'm first part of the week, the first 2 days or 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I could do something.
Yeah, I actually
Okay.
need to look at my calendar. You know what? Call me.
Okay.
Do it on the phone where I can see my calendar.
Okay.
And
So the Education Outreach Subcommittee will not be
we will meet.
scheduled at this time.
Yeah.
D, Ad hoc Subcommittee for Levinson Marsh. I believe you guys managed to pull that off, right?
Yeah, Glenn came to the plant sale on Saturday, and we sat in the back and talked about it, and then she crafted the letter, and yeah, so we're
There were a couple of typos in the emailed version. I'm not seeing them now. Does that mean they got spell checked?
I didn't change anything.
Okay.
the only one I saw for sure was Clippy, and that's been corrected.
Paragraph formatting got kind of messed up.
Yeah. There should be spaces between, and you'll
Yeah.
format this correctly, right?
I only changed how it looks for the slide, but it still exists the way you sent it to me in a Word document on my computer.
But
Okay.
you can clean that up and make it formatted nicely, if you would.
Yes, it doesn't actually look like this. It looks
Okay.
like however you sent it to me.
No, I know, but still it would,
It needs more.
yeah.
Okay.
The one thing I didn't put in here that I was supposed to put in was that even if it's a priority conservation area, it's still PDA also, and I completely forgot to do that.
Yeah, we wanted to mention that even if a property already has a PDA status, it does not
Or PDA or PCA?
It's PDF.
if a property already has PDA status, it does not preclude it from having a PCA status.
Okay. So Natalie, could you put that sentence in, because I wouldn't have gotten it right in the first place?
Can I offer, well, a question and a comment, I guess?
Oh,
one of
please.
each.
Yeah.
When the council did adopt the ordinance supporting inclusion in the PCA, would you want to change the first paragraph to say, we thank the council for adopting the resolution supporting inclusion in the PCA,
Yes.
and would like this further, the commitment?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, because we've passed the resolution to be included in the PCA, but this is when it comes to approving the map of the PCA, that we want to make sure that the Levinson property and the Peking Handicraft property are included.
So I'm not sure if that needs to go back to council to approve the map. Was that?
Yes, it
was there
will.
discussion?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe it will have to. Each city, they approve the resolution, the way I understand it, and I really need to understand it a lot better than what I do right now, but they approve the resolution to be included in the PCA, and then San Bruno Mountain Watch is preparing maps for each city that will be marked out when we file for PCA, and the maps for all around the mountain will delineate like ideas for projects and trails and reasons why we would want it included in the PCA as PCA status. And each map shows the areas for each does each government.
Well,
city
that's
government.
true, and I was able to talk to, I'm not get his name right, Del
Del
Shimbar,
Shambari,
just today, well, on the phone Monday, and
Uh-huh.
then today he picked up a copy of the open space plan, and I told him we might get the presentation of it in January, and he was talking about the projects and that you want to list proposed projects, and it sounded like, yeah, that is appropriate, the council
yeah.
weigh in on that, too.
Yeah, and the projects, when you file for the PCA status, they're not like set in stone or anything like that. It's really like the wish
Proposed.
list, the pie in the
Right.
sky list of, so that the people who grant PCA status have an idea of what the future vision would be of why we would ask for PCA status for an area, and then instead of just saying, we want everything to be a priority conservation area, that we have specific plans to connect trails, to connect the mountain with public transportation, to develop a demonstration farm, how it all links together. Because the funding, a lot of the funding for stuff for PCA for the whole like California land use thing is coming from transportation funds. And that's one of the reasons they're particularly interested in trails, public transportation, access to public open space, et cetera, et cetera. So those are all things that will be kind of outlined on each section of the map of how we would integrate with maybe with the Bay Trail, integrate with the Ridgeline Trail, that type of thing.
Okay, that's a great segue to my other question. So yes, the committee saying we thank the council for the step they took, and then in the first paragraph, that is fine. And my next question was about the last sentence in the third paragraph. A trail from Geneva Avenue through the site would enhance public access to San Bruno Mountain since Geneva Avenue is well served by public transit. I'm trying to understand where you envision the trail, because the property doesn't connect to Geneva, right?
So, but if you, on the map here, so you see Geneva Avenue and you see Bayshore Boulevard. Unfortunately, your map is not big enough to show that, well, it kind of shows the area. Okay, see where Bayshore Boulevard is and Main Street? Okay, and that property right there, and see how close it is to Guadalupe Canyon Parkway up the hill? I wish I could point for you.
Yeah, on Linda Vista?
It's the area between Maine, Linda Vista, Guadalupe, and Bayshore.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay, but when you say Geneva, though,
Well, it's walking distance to
Okay.
the corner of Geneva Avenue and Bay Shore.
okay, so it sounds like, maybe we can reword that, because it sounds like the trail would go from,
No,
directly from-
it'd be like, it's within walking range of,
right.
easy walking range of public access.
Right, and there's a stop at Main Street, actually, in Industrial,
Yeah,
of the Samtrans.
Main Street and Industrial, yes, of Sam Trends.
Yeah.
And then also, the Muni bus, makes the corner.
It's also accessible potentially via Carter Street. So there's, I can't quite make out the name of that small Fowler place or something, but I go hiking over there, and there is a way of getting up there by that water tower.
Yeah,
So there could be a potential access from further up on Geneva Avenue.
Okay, so maybe we can just say this more generally, because Geneva Avenue itself actually isn't that well served by public transit.
no.
So maybe the area is reasonably well served.
Better served than the other
between
places.
Caltrain and the shuttle and the Samtrans
Right.
service is pretty well served by public transit.
Yeah, and eventually, I think they're going to bring the Third Street Light Rail all the way down to
Right.
Geneva Avenue.
Right, and there are committees ongoing that are working on the fact that there is that void there, and, if Geneva
Right.
Avenue never does extend, the
And then also, it kind of could eventually kind of connect to the Baylands as well, of like connecting where Lazari Fuel is on this map is where the Roundhouse is. And, kind of that's an area that may end up being
preserved.
more open space in the plans and then connect to the mountain from there, kind of tie it all together. And the area where Main Street is also, near there is marshland
Right.
as well, so.
So how does it connect, how does the Levinson property connect San Bruno Mountain to McLaren Park?
Well, it doesn't. That's just part of a whole map-making trail thing of one of the
Okay.
things that we're hoping to be able to do at some point in the future is have a trail or green pathway that kind of runs along Carter Street, crosses Geneva Avenue, and then, connects up with Crocker Amazon and then up to McLaren. Kind of in the, green trails, green byways. That's the closest 2 points that are accessible at this point. That's way in the, that's not as easily envisioned as the preserving the Peking Handicraft and Levinson property.
Okay, great.
So if you want to add that and stuff, and before we actually send it, I wouldn't mind seeing one more final copy of it formatted and everything. That I promise to turn her around fast.
And signed by the chair?
Sure. Just send me an email. I walk around town all the time. I'll pop down. If everybody else wants to sign it too, that's up
I mean,
to
do you have
them.
a preference to,
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter to me.
No, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
okay.
Well, maybe you can just send in an email and I'll sign it, and anybody who wants to sign it may.
Well, I
As
think
long as we get another look at it first, I'm
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
happy to have you
Yeah.
sign it, but
Okay.
especially Michelle needs to take another look at it first.
yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, let's do that, okay.
Okay, I'm excited about that.
Ad hoc subcommittee.
Did not meet with Michael on that, but I will go ahead and move forward with crafting a letter and getting with him on that. It's just been incredibly busy, I can't even tell you. I mean, if Glenn had not come to the plant sale to capture me there where we probably wouldn't have gotten that part done either. So I appreciate that, Glenn. She hounded me.
OSEC additional task lists.
I don't think we have any more additional tasks right now.
Well, we were trying to refine that big, wieldy list that you guys had all prioritized and
Oh, yeah.
slice the things off the top, so we can, I mean, this is the first draft of it, we can refine it, you guys can look at it and tell us if you have feedback at the next meeting, or we're
That
trying
was
to
good,
Yeah,
'cause
I
it's
need to
9
get
o'clock,
home.
and
Yeah.
Okay.
Extra grade.
do that.
So we will move item 6 to the next meeting.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So 7, staff updates. This one I don't want to move, so please update us, staff. I think I'm getting a little punchy.
So I've been in touch with the people that do these trainings. There's actually an online form. There are several classes, and so Karen's been going over that list with the contractor. Is that correct? To determine what would be useful for us to take. Do you want to?
So we talked to a few contractors that either work or are based in town, smaller ones, an electrical contractor and general contractors, and they were all interested in trainings that were short, a couple hours, hour and a half, attention span length. And the BayRen, I forget what they stand for,
Yeah.
offers a whole series that they want to teach whoever wants to learn. They're originally, I think, marketed to staff, but they're definitely available to contractors. So I passed the list to Doug Ryder, having been a contractor in town and now being our building official, and he said, let me let some staff at CSG look at it. So I just sent that to Natalie, that they prioritize, because some of this stuff definitely is for staff that are reviewing plans, and some of it is, I don't know if in Brisbane we would get attendance at a commercial HVAC contractor training. We want the residential ones maybe first. So they recommend 4. So we want to try 1, and maybe we do lighting or HVAC at the residential level and make sure we get some turnout. So they'll offer that for free if we provide a facility. So
Why don't you think we want to do commercial?
I don't know if there are contractors locally that would come.
Yeah.
We have an HVAC commercial contractor in town. I know that. I'm not sure if one is enough,
Right.
but,
I think focusing on the residential, it would be really good, because we do have a lot of residential
yeah.
and
Yeah.
residential / small commercial contractors in Brisbane that might be very.
More of those, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wonder if it would be, I don't know, maybe it's more trouble than it's worth, but I wonder if it would be worth it to cooperate with South City, for example, and have some kind of, invite contractors from there and contractors from here and have it be a Northern Peninsula type of thing.
Yeah,
Maybe it
sure.
wouldn't be worth it.
Yeah, we can do that outreach beyond Brisbane, and that might be better, because if we,
Yeah.
we're going to put this thing on and we get 4 or 6 people, maybe it'd be better if and contractors that are nearby are still going to do work in Brisbane.
Absolutely.
Point well.
Yeah, so,
I would
so,
invite anybody who's pulled a permit in Brisbane in the last 2 years.
Well, that's our business license list, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
might also talk to Mitch Bull, because the Chamber of Commerce is really pretty good about promoting things like that and putting it in the luminary and,
Yeah.
I don't know what their publication deadline is, but
We might also want to open it up to do-it-yourselfers and also people who are thinking about doing a upgrade of their home,
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, that's a good idea.
so that
it's-
it's not just the contractors, so that the people who are
General
getting the work
public,
done
yeah.
are informed if they want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'll be free, so it'll be open to anybody that
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
interested.
Yeah.
So we should be able to do one, we have to schedule with them, but
We should have good attendance if we can pick a rainy day.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
If we have a rainy day ever
If it ever
again.
rains again.
Okay. Next.
So, Public Works sent out a letter to the final address list that we had that Elena started, that she made for us. So that letter basically, right, for the people that are listening, this is for basically removing the diseased and dying Monterey pine that have bark beetle issues from local businesses. So this letter basically described the issue, asking people to remove these trees. We provided them the contact information from the people that I got quotes from, and I let them know people would be contacting them about that. They got a removal permit application, and then our contact information if they had questions. So as far as I know, people have been reaching out to the contractors. I know Tim got some calls, and some other contractors. So looks like people are starting to make movement on getting these trees removed.
Awesome.
That's great.
We had been afraid that we wouldn't be able to make much movement without financial incentives, but it seems like maybe it's working a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, it started out as kind of a gentle letter, like your tree may be infected and you may want to get someone to officially, a certified arborist to look at it, and the Public Works Director said he would sign it, and then the letter changed to say, these trees are a hazard, they have this beetle, and something needs to be done, and it didn't have any deadline or any fine, but it was a strong letter, so.
Yeah.
Did we send one, unfortunately, to the Brisbane Littman School?
Did they have a pine that wasn't on the list, or?
I don't think they're on the list, but they have probably the largest grove of diseased trees I've seen.
Michelle, are you talking about the ones by the driveway?
I'm talking about all the ones that surround the Littman School.
Most of those are gone, and Tim was out there a few days ago.
Oh, I
cutting-
mean, up at Littman School, the ones that surround the playground?
Oh, you're talking about the upper level. I was talking about the ones So Tim got the one that was next to the driveway last weekend, so I think they're working on them. I'll check out the others.
All right, it's really sad, but they were all those ones that were planted at that time, a lot of them are sick.
There's a lot more on Quarry Road that are dying too, and I think some of them are tall enough to fall onto the power lines that are sort of below Quarry Road, and it would probably be a good idea if they didn't fall onto those power lines. I think I wrote to Stuart about that sometime
Maybe we
ago.
can sick PG&E on those?
Those might be ours. I think we were looking into.
I think they
what
probably
are.
do belong to the city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you walk out Quarry Road, part of the road is elevated, and so the power line is actually below the level of Quarry Road. But the trees are big enough, if they fall that way, they will take out big power lines. So somebody ought to probably look.
I think they are on a list, so we can give you an update next month, and hopefully that update will be that they're gone already.
Okay.
It's really sad, but they gotta go.
Yeah. The polystyrene ban. I think council decided more outreach needed to be
They
done.
did that, but then on November 6th, they adopted it.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
There you go. So,
Some of you expressed interest in going to the RICAPS meeting. Betty just mentioned that when she was here, the working groups that meet. I think it was you, Barbara, that asked if anyone can attend, and then we originally thought maybe it was just for staff. So Susan, the person that coordinates these meetings, said anyone can attend, but at this time they aren't working on the energy action plan. They're kind of working on a lot of other things like Beacon Award and stuff like that.
like what?
The Beacon Award.
Okay. All right.
So I can pass along that information to you if you're interested in attending. But
Oh,
at this time, it pretty much is staff that go to these
Okay.
meetings.
Yeah, well, I'm interested in going when they're working on an energy action plan.
Right.
So, unfortunately, I don't have enough time right now to just go off on daisy picking trips. Public education on grading and sustainability. What would staff like to tell us about that?
So Natalie's drafted a couple of articles that we're looking for space in the City News or the Star, and feedback we got is the City News we reduced to just 2 pages, so that's might be a little bit harder fit, but there's plenty of room in the Star, so we're hoping to have one of those in January, and then one in the next Star after that, March.
So, sustainability, I guess Michelle and I should work on that issue. I think that was one of our education and outreach projects. So we should work on sustainability, something, language, or is
We've got a
Natalie?
draft, and we can
Yeah.
send it to you guys
Yeah.
for
That'd
feedback.
be
Why don't we do it with that?
awesome.
They already did the work.
Oh, well, we were
But you guys
supposed to
can
work on that too.
Comment, review and comment, that'd be
Yeah, okay, so send that to Michelle and I. Grading permits?
Yeah, Natalie drafted one about what's required, and if you create an impervious surface, what, it's still in draft form to what's, the impacts are to the environment and to your neighboring property, and what. the
And what your
legal
responsibilities are.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Will
but
that one be sent to us?
would you like,
Yeah, I think so.
you have a preference on which we try to get in the January Star? Between sustainability and grading?
Probably.
Both. I don't know.
It's probably sustainability first.
'Cause it's bigger picture.
Yeah, and grading might because people would be thinking more about their yards a little bit later.
And they're probably hopefully
Yeah.
not trying to
And the-
grade.
Yeah, and on the grading one, Glenn, did you want to see that too? Because that's the thing that you brought up about paving, people paving their yard and stuff.
Actually, Barbara and I were going to talk about that and see if we could get ask the city maybe to increase the amount of uncovered yard
Yeah.
that there has to be. So I don't know, does it go with grading permits?
I'll read it and I'll let you know. If it does, I'll send it to you.
Well,
Yeah, that'd be good,
this is
because
kind of
maybe
the-
it does.
This is kind of the two-pronged approach that we talked about, doing some public outreach, and then it had come up again with the liaisons, and you guys had said you wanted to do something stronger with the council, so we still want to do both.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess the grading permits language didn't ring a bell with me, but yeah, I mean, if we can talk about yard coverage,
If you-
Yeah, I will change the title probably.
that'd
Well,
be-
yeah, if you want to put cement in, you usually have to do a little kind of grading.
yeah, sorry, I'm tired, it's been a long day.
Yeah, the grading code says that if you create an impervious surface of a certain area that then is going to run off, you have to deal with that runoff, so that's.
Yeah, I'd like to look at it.
OSEC documents on the city website. I want to thank Natalie for that. Natalie, I had sent you an email about maybe breaking them up by date or something, or putting dates that they're posted so that, because it's fine right now, but pretty soon it's going to become a long list of like, and I could just see myself just reading down and down and down, like which are the things I need, what's current, basically.
Yeah, Karen and I did discuss that. I can put dates. The other option we discussed was when we're kind of done with items, just remove things so it wouldn't pile up. I asked Caroline if we can have something like folders on there, and she said that won't work.
Okay.
So yeah, either there'll be dates or we'll just refresh it. We'll see what ends up working best.
Okay, that's fine. Anybody else have any words about that? No? Okay. Beacon Awards. Shoot.
So the Beacon Awards are basically highlighting the city of Brisbane for things that we've done to reduce greenhouse gases, and I think water use maybe as well. And so that goes hand in hand with our energy action plan and anything that we've done since, I guess, 2005 as well, because we might use that as our baseline. So basically just getting recognition for what we've done so far.
So who's providing the Beacon Awards, and are they recognizing the city of Brisbane, and what are they recognizing the city of Brisbane?
Yet, but
Okay.
it's kind of a facet of, I guess, the RICAP's working group and the San Mateo County Energy Watch. I turned myself off. RICAP's working group and San Mateo County Energy Watch is asking agencies to apply for this process, and it's another layer of working together with neighboring agencies to share ideas and develop. And this program's been around. It's the Local Governments Local Governments Commission that is behind this, and they've already given awards, so we haven't gotten any. We're just applying and basically giving them our information about the things that we talked about earlier, the things we've already done, energy savings and sustainability wise. So they have spotlight awards when you do a certain best management practice, and then they have an overall gold, silver, bronze award, I think, and San Carlos has gotten one and Palo Alto has gotten one, and it's just a way to advertise that you are making progress. So we've gotten feedback from our council liaisons in different ways, like that's a good thing to go for, or don't go for that if it detracts you from doing other stuff. But again, it's part of the CCAG and Betty and the San Mateo County Energy Watch. They've got staff to help process our data and submit it so that then we get some recognition, and we think we're going to propose to council will have to pass a resolution to even participate in the program, so it's.
Okay.
We could reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by 59% if we de-annex 101.
I like it.
Then we'd win.
Which brings up one thing, invasive species series we were doing in was that the Star or the City News? I had sent Natalie something a couple months ago on, was it the licorice plant? I think, yeah. And that was supposed to be submitted to the Star at some point, so can we get that ball back up in the air?
I did submit it, and then I was bumped for something else.
Okay.
So I'm not
Because I know
sure
the
if-
daisy was bumped, but then it got in.
Oh, okay.
And then, so the next one was the licorice plant. I think. Do you need me to resend that to you?
I do have it. Let's see. I'll review it, and if I have questions, I'll email you.
Okay, okay, because that was supposed to be an ongoing series, I believe.
Mhm.
That was our intention. So, great.
I move to adjourn.
I second.
motion.
Do we
All in
have a-
favor?
Aye.
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 The second Wednesday of December is our next meeting at 6:30. December.
December 10th, I believe.
Now, that just reminds me, though, I wanted to ask, or we wanted to bring up, that when we have Fred Smith come and do a presentation, and we're shooting for I don't think we asked him specific dates, but the open space plan and the vegetation management plan, he's not free on Wednesday nights. So we're trying to poll whether a Monday or Tuesday might be possible in mid-January.
Sure. Come January, I will have much more time and I can do whatever you want me to do.
I think that's important enough. We can change the date for that or hold a special meeting or whatever.
Okay, so we'll figure that out officially by the December meeting so that we can
Yeah.
have the notifications out and stuff.
I probably will not be around until the third week of January.
Okay, and then that Monday is Martin Luther King Day, so I don't know if that's a
Right.
plus or
Well,
minus.
I may just have to miss that meeting.
Let's try and work around that because it's a good one for you to be at.
And, yeah, and then there would be the option to push it off to February, but
Well, we could have a special meeting for that, you know.
right, okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, everybody.